Today we have a Kathy leader, and Kathy is mostly abstract painter, right? You do abstraction mostly and mixed media,
Mhm.
yeah. And Kathy is going to show her work and upcoming workshop. Um, and maybe are you going to show some demonstration too?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's start with some questions I have about your background. And I'm really curious, so why you happen to choose abstract and especially mixed media, which I think is kind of a scary part of a lot of, there are a lot of art genres, but I think abstract is for me. Abstract sounds more scary because there's no defined. Okay, this is how you do this, that, like a landscape or still life. You have a pretty good idea how it's gonna go, but abstract is almost like a stepping on totally unmapped area. Isn't that kind of the way you feel when you first started?
Yes. So you've touched on exactly why I teach the workshop that I do, because I've been doing abstract work for so long. And I was trained as a fine artist in South Africa. Um, I moved gradually into abstract work because I felt like it was a way of being much more self expressive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's more about feelings and concepts and ideas and self expression.
Right.
And so I started working with mixed media because you can do a lot of layering with
Mm-hmm.
with mixed media. You know, you can use collage and paint and printing and all sorts of things. But the thing is that a lot of abstract people who start off doing abstract art don't know where to begin, don't know how, as you say, it's much easier in realistic work because it either is the landscape or the figure and it's more defined.
Right.
Abstract work, um, what I do is I teach the elements of art and I teach how to compose abstract work so that it isn't just this jumble, this mess of paint and color and everything else. So I do teach. This class particularly is called mixed media and composition.
Uh-huh.
So we go through the steps of how you create technical mixed media images, but how to put it together so that it's a successful composition. So I go through, the elements of art, such as tone and color and shape and repetition. Those are all elements that are more important in abstract work, um, in order to make it make sense. If
I
you,
see.
yeah.
So, particularly, I'm interested in those different media. So, can you a little more specific about what kind of a media you incorporate into your, say, one painting?
Yes. So, if for instance you look at this painting that is on the screen, not if you highlight the desk,
Mm-hmm.
so that is an example of there's a lot of layers of collage, like papers that are stuck onto the surface first before we do anything else. We also
Mm-hmm.
create some of those papers by using a jelly plate printing. So we create some of those papers that we use in collage. Then we go over it with paint and we start doing a combination of layering with paint. And so we cover certain areas and extract certain areas. So if I can show you, I'll go to my desk and just flip through some things so that you can see what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Okay, so in this one that I'm showing you, um, you can see here some of these papers are what we created on a jelly plate with, all sorts of techniques that I show. And you can see even closer that I've then covered up some of that with paint so that this is the area that I want to expose as being my focal area. But then sometimes we do things like image transfers. So you can see here there's we made an image transfer from a magazine, and we then put that into the piece and then used papers and stencils and paint over it. So there's a few different kind of techniques that I go through, and it's really fun because there's no, like, you can't really go wrong with it. In this piece, this is a magazine image that I used first, and then I painted with gesso, I used stencil, and I created this composition. It's actually the other way around. But, I'll show you this one as well. Also, using jelly plate printing, stencils, collage, just a real combination. And the thing that's really nice about it, these are all jelly plate prints. And we also do some mark making and drawing on, sometimes we do transparent paper like this. And the thing I like about mixed media is that if you don't like what you've done, you can just paint over it and
Yeah.
create these lovely layering effect. Like, this is one of my favorites because there's collage here, there's paint, there's drawing with pastels even on here and here. But it's not so simple to put something like that together because you have to have an understanding of the importance of tonal differences, darks versus lights, repetition, and kind of quieter, softer areas compared to really busy areas. So you have to really understand a lot of those concepts before you can just kind of throw all of those things together.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
see.
really what I focus on, is all these different techniques, which are so much fun and people get all excited about them, and jelly plate prints and paper and paint and everything. It's all very exciting. However, when you get to putting it together, people are like, oh, it's a jumble. I don't know what to do and I don't know where my focus is. So I really help them
Uh-huh.
put it all together and come up with an idea or something that feels like it's really their own personal self expression, because that's very
Right.
important to me, is that people feel like they're expressing themselves kind of
Yeah.
intuitively.
Right. Yeah, I think abstract painting, whether it's painting or mixed media, actually they show more emotions
Yes.
than realistic paintings, in a way that you are not bound to certain object or certain form that you have to copy, or I mean, for realistic paintings you have to have a certain boundaries where you can, just to go out whatever you want. Where abstract painting, I think you're more being honest to your own self, and you start probably hearing to your inner soul. I
Yes.
mean, I'm totally novice on this field, so I don't know exactly what terminology I should use. But I'm saying is that you're expressing more, right? You're expressing more, but I think when you try to do that, the most frustrating thing is that you don't know what tools you have to express yourself. You have a piece of paper or canvas, but until you know how to use them in a way that it maximizes their expression, you'll be frustrated continually as you go through. So I think your workshop helps to sort this out and give them a pretty good idea what kind of tools are available and how to manipulate them so that your end result would be what you intended at the first place. Is that
Right.
kind of make sense? Yeah.
Yes, that makes total sense. And I do help people kind of access what it is they really trying to communicate in their book.
Right.
So I can show them a lot of techniques and tips and ideas, but it's really important for artists, even beginners. I work with beginners,
Mm-hmm.
intermediate, advanced. It doesn't matter what stage you're at,
Yeah.
still struggle with the same things. So a lot of times I really get people to stop and just like think about what it is they're trying to communicate, and
Right.
even write it down, in a book, so that they feel like it's not just they're copying someone's art, but they're really doing some personal soul searching and some personal expression.
Right. So, Kathy, do you have any work that you wanna share today?
So, what I'm going to do is something very simple that is a technique that I start off with, which is in order to teach good composition, I use just papers from a torn out from a magazine just to begin with. And one of the techniques I do that's very simple, I ask people to tear out magazine images. And this first technique, all I do is I ask people to take the image, take some sandpaper, and get some kind of stencil or texture, put it underneath the magazine, and take the sandpaper and sand so that they're altering the paper in a way that it's not just taken out from a magazine, but it has this lovely texture to it that they can then use in a collage. So just as an example, what I may do is say to them, okay, tear out a few things and I'll direct them to using contrast, like sometimes, a bit of text, sometimes maybe this map is interesting. Um, Maybe we'll put it at the top and play around with it. Maybe we'll take some other paper. Let's see. We'll tear some paper and just intuitively, I make sure people don't think too much about this. But what I'll do is say, okay, let's, as an example, we're going to take a frame. Let me make sure you can see this. And we're going to take this frame and put it around the piece like this. And the way I teach composition is, okay, now, do you have enough contrast of tone? Do you have some light areas, some dark areas, and some medium areas? That is very, very important for a good composition, for an abstract composition. Do you have a good combination of, soft, flat areas compared to very busy areas? And that's how I teach this torn paper compared to a cut piece. So there's a lot of contrast, and we play around with what happens if you move this, what happens if you move it up here, how does it change the composition. And I find this exercise a very, very interesting one. And there's a lot of teaching you can do just with this very simple idea. So, um, so that's like one of the first compositional ideas that we talk about. And these are all, we don't get into major mixed media right away. I try and teach some composition first so that when we add paint and we add other mediums, you have the basis, the foundation of good compositional elements and concepts.
I see.
So that's just a very simple project, just as a fun way to show.
Right. It's simple, but it's a very essential. I think
Yeah.
also it really demonstrates how well organized this is. Actually, this is not some chaotic process, but you're doing a lot of more organized way so that um, minimize the trial and error periods and focusing more on creative side of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find Kathy's workshop listing on the workshop finder, www.workshop-finder.com, www.workshop-finder.com. And here's a workshop finder, and it has art workshops, photography workshops and tours, writing workshops, and music workshops. So we want to go to the art workshops. So click here. Now you see all the listings here, starting with year-round workshops, and then you go down a little further, and these are the workshops in March. And here's the upcoming mixed media workshop with a Kathy leader, and it's starting in March 30th, and it's a 6-week package ending in May 4th. And if you'd like to get more information, click more info button here. Now it's directing you to the website, the Kathy's website. So you go down, and here is a 6-week workshop sign up button. Click. Here you are. Choose Tuesday or Wednesday option. So this is where you can sign up for Kathy's mixed media workshop. And thank you for watching, and see you soon.